Welcome to Bog's Studio. We're going to paint a portrait today, so hang out and see how this comes together. I'm going to spend a few minutes here initially getting the major shapes sort of lined out and up there, and we'll go from there, see what happens. Again, appreciate you checking this out. If you're interested in this type of work, a subscribe, a like, all those sort of things would be much appreciated. Doesn't cost you anything, so consider it, maybe. Okay, cheers. Okay, so there's the basic sort of shapes. We've got a really fancy script ampersand here that's sort of looping around multiple times, and then the portrait sort of tucked inside of that. So we will see how this comes together. some progress here. Definitely got a long ways to go as far as like the hair. I think what I'm going to do is block in the symbol, and that'll give us something to react to. Not sure if we're going to stick with this like yellowish tone, that off-white, for that form, or if we'll go to more of a brighter white in final render. I'm going to have like background elements that are going to bump up to this and probably mess up the edge a little bit, so I'll have to go back and cut that up a little bit. But I feel like the face came together okay. It might be a little bit off. I think as we start to pack in detail surrounding the face with like the hair is based off of like a Baroque statue, so it's kind of like chunky and flowing, and maybe defies gravity just a little bit. So we'll see if we can make that happen. I'm going to try to avoid like a ton of linear stuff like this. I just wanted to build in some movement in there, and I'll be going back in over the top of that as we continue to work with this. Right now I'm kind of struggling a little bit with like what color harmony I want to work with. In my original design, I had these like warm tones that were sort of surrounded, almost like a radial gradient out, with like cooler tones. And I don't know, as I started doing that to the facial features, I felt like that needed to be a little bit more unified with like those warm tones. So having cool tones in like the forehead, I don't know how well that's working right now. May end up kind of reworking that a little bit. So I guess, you know, just to summarize, I don't know what's going on. We're going to keep working it and see what evolves out of it. So. together exactly as I had hoped, but I feel like it was a worthwhile exploration. Maybe discovered a few things. I think the way that I started out with the hair, I didn't really have a super solid plan in place, and so I feel like I maybe floundered with that a little bit. I would have been better off probably just blocking in the main shapes and forms. That's usually what I try to do when rendering hair, but this time, I don't know, I just got into this linear sort of treatment, and that's sort of how it went. So, you know, not everything's a home run, but I do think that the likeness or the rendering of the portrait turned out pretty well here. I kind of like the idea of focus kind of like shifting as it moves away from the portrait and kind of getting a little bit looser as it moves out, maybe a little more expressive. You know, maybe that's just an excuse as well. Who knows? So I am calling this one finished. I threw a little signature at the bottom. I don't typically sign my murals that way, but you know, since we're in the studio, in a studio session, I thought it might be kind of fun just to throw a little bit of a tag on it, I guess. And then that needed fixed. And then yeah, thank you again for hanging out, watching this develop. This maybe wasn't what I was expecting necessarily when we started out, but I think you know, like I said, something came together here, and we'll call it a finished piece. So thanks for being here. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Have a lovely day, and make cool stuff, right? Yeah. Final sort of thought as we're closing things out, to run through the paint again. Montana black, patina. I didn't use a lot of it. There's a little bit of it in the forehead and maybe in some of the hair. Light blue. This came into play when I ran out of that cyan tone, so I switched over to the light blue. We've got the orange tone, which is called Sushi, and a little bit of black, and that has that stencil liner cap on it. Used the regular black, orange dot cap for some fills, and then a lot of the fine line green cap. We've got smashed potato, which is this sort of yellow tone, and then we've got the dark blue is space. We've got Power Yellow, Snow White, and Cardinal in the mix. So that's the materials, and the caps